till the 4th of July, walking the dog, just a walking the dog. If you don't know how to do it, I'll show you how to walk the dog.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I hope you're doing well. It's been a little while, but I'm back now, and I have a very interesting subject for you guys, and that's going to be a smartphone review. Now, I've always wanted to review a smartphone, but I've never actually got around to doing it, just like the mouse review. But I'm not going to be reviewing an Android or an iOS device. I'm actually going to be reviewing an old budget Windows phone. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be taking a look at the old budget Nokia Lumia 521/520. This is an old budget $65 Windows phone that I actually got from T-Mobile back in its prime. I'm going to be giving this phone my typical in-depth treatment. I'm going to be taking a look at apps, gaming, the whole 9 yards to see whether this phone is even worth $20 on eBay in the current physical year of 2018. The Nokia Lumia 520/521 came out in 2013. I actually owned this phone back in the day, and I remember going to T-Mobile to pick mine up out of the box with a contract for $65.99. I used this phone for about 3 years before upgrading to a Windows Phone 8X from HTC. You are getting a 480 by 800 IPS LCD screen. Now the screen is really tiny at 4 inches long, so even though the screen has a low resolution, it doesn't look too bad today. Under the hood, you get the Microsoft Windows 8.1 operating system along with the Qualcomm MS-M8 227 chipset. That chipset contains a dual core at 1.0 GHz and the Adreno 305 graphics. Fortunately, you do get a micro SD card slot up to 64 GB, along with 8 GB of internal memory and 512 MB of RAM. Even though the phone is really old and charges with micro USB, you still get Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and hotspot, all that stuff that you need today. The phone also comes with a 1430 mAh battery. In my testing, this actually isn't too bad because the phone isn't super demanding, so the battery does last quite a long time. The phone comes with a whole host of colors. You can get it in yellow, red, white, black, any color you desire. But I do find the white version to be the most common and the cheapest online. You do get a 5 megapixel camera with autofocus that does shoot 720p 30 frames per second video. We will be taking a more in-depth look at this later in the video, but I just wanted to bring it up in the specs section. It is worth pointing out that the phone does lack LTE support, which may be a game changer for you. To start off, looking at the interface of the phone, I find it very fascinating that the phone actually uses a modified mobile version of Windows 8. Windows 8 isn't the best operating system there is, but in this mobile form, you could really see what Microsoft was trying to achieve. Now, the biggest Achilles heel of Windows Phone and Windows OS in general was the app support. You do get all the essentials that you need like Skype, Uber, Facebook, and Twitter and stuff like that, but all this stuff was really outdated and sometimes even a year behind development of the iOS and Android counterparts, sometimes even trailing development behind those apps by 1 year. Now it's gotten even worse, and these apps are pretty much just left behind. But even when Windows OS was in its prime, it actually didn't even have an up-to-date Instagram app. We used a thing called 6tag, and this was actually an app created by some guy who went out of his way to make apps for Windows Phone using the APIs of those systems, even though the developers of those apps should have done it themselves. You remember earlier how I told you that app support was so awful on Windows OS? Well, we never actually got a physical YouTube app from YouTube. So someone went out of their way to create an app called TubeHD. This application uses the Google API to watch YouTube videos, and it's very, very basic. Even though the app looks old and outdated, that's actually its strong suit. I was able to very quickly type up my channel and start watching one of my latest videos in 1080p, which is actually even difficult to watch 480p videos on Internet Explorer on YouTube. We did eventually get a Twitter app, but it's so outdated now that it uses the old like system still. So it does function and it still does work with the Twitter API, but it does still use the like system, so that's pretty funny. The phone's integrated internet browser is what I'd describe as painfully average. Going to CNN, the internet's most taxing website, it's going to get the job done, but it's going to take a second. I thought installing a third-party browser like UC browser would actually make a difference, but it actually didn't help whatsoever. Netflix on older mobile phones and laptops can be extremely demanding. In this case, I wanted to try out a little Walking Dead on the Windows Phone. When I first started the stream, there was a lot of buffering, but it never buffered again, but the audio was significantly behind the video. After just letting it sit for about a minute, it actually caught up and was a decent experience if you have a little patience. I love the Xbox integration with Windows Phone because you can unlock achievements and all kinds of awesome stuff, and since I love Xbox, I find that really cool. For example, Crossy Road performs excellent, and you can get achievements, and that ties to your Xbox account, which I find to be so cool. You can even install this free Atari emulator and you can play 7800 games, 2600 games. You can play games like Frogger, E.T., all that stuff for free, and it performs excellent on the phone. But one of the highlights of the Windows Phone is the open source software of the Windows Store. So one of my favorite games on the Windows Phone is Floppy James. I find the customization of the phone to be amazing. The way you can change the light, dark, or the color, that's such an advanced feature, and for 2013, really blew me away. Before I move outside to test the camera, I wanted to try it in a medium light situation, so let's try it. So this is what a medium lighted video looks like on the Nokia Lumia 521. You can see as we go towards the light, it gets a little cleaner, but as we start to move, the ISO starts to kick in very badly. But you know what? Overall, pretty acceptable, I would say. Pretty acceptable. The autofocus actually isn't too bad. I've seen much worse. This is a test of using the integrated microphone on the Nokia Lumia 521 approximately 4.5 inches away. You can also download this third-party app from the Windows Store called Lumia Camera. This is an extremely powerful app, allowing you to change the ISO, the aperture, the shutter speed, and even manual focus mode. If you took the time and you were very patient, you could get some amazing shots from this phone. Compared to the normal photo application, you get an enormous amount of control with the manual focus mode and the shutter speed adjustment. I took a couple photos and compared it to the normal camera, and you have a lot of control. In these unedited photos, you can see the color accuracy really suffers even outside in the perfect light, but it does look decent, and I have to say for 5 megapixels, these images are astoundingly sharp. For a 5 megapixel camera with a little saturation, these images look pretty good, I must say. The build quality of this phone is actually really high for being so cheap. The buttons have a really juicy click to them and they actually feel like buttons. I really love this white polycarbonate finish that it has. It just actually screams quality and fits so nice in the hand. I have no idea how they made a keyboard this nice on a phone this small. I have fat thumbs and I can still type so accurately with this keyboard. I don't know how they did it, but it is an outstanding keyboard. I'm very torn about how I feel about this phone. On one hand, I think it's an awesome deal at like $16 to $20, but I feel like there's much better options out there on Android and iOS that give you much better app support, a much better camera, much better specs around the same price. You can even get other Windows phones around the same price that are actually much faster. So on one hand, I do find the experience on here to be actually quite decent for being $20, including using apps like Facebook, Twitter, and that YouTube app, but you know what, there are much better options out there. But if you are a curious developer and you are checking out Windows as a service or Windows as a platform, you might want to pick this up and develop for it or do something weird with that, because I feel like the Windows Store is a very odd store in the case that it's very open source. So a lot of these phones are very open and you can develop really weird crap for them. So if you're a developer and you like to do that kind of thing, you might want to check this out. Now, if you're still using a flip phone or something, this might actually be a very decent upgrade path for you, because you get a decent camera, you get a decent speaker, and you get a decent browser. So this might actually be a decent upgrade for those people out there rocking an old T-Mobile flip phone and you want to get into the smartphone but not pay the smartphone tax. So that's going to be my review on the Nokia Lumia 520/521. Very interesting phone. If you guys are interested in me doing another phone review, I have another Windows phone that I still use on a daily basis. That is the Windows Phone 8X from HTC, so let me know if you do want to see that. Thank you all so much for watching. I do plan on doing new tech videos here very soon based on GPUs and CPUs and stuff like that. I've just been a little tired. Just let me get back into my flow and hit that notification bell, hit that subscribe button, and let me know what you thought down in the comment section down below. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Hey, did you know that I started putting my GPU edits on a separate channel? Link in the description down below. Click on the screen to watch my latest video or a random video based on your recommended.